In this lesson, we're going to look at the technique that is necessary for the follower to use when making the Colgada, when the Colgada is happening. There are generally two ways people describe this. For the follower to be in her body or in their body is going to be more like a plank or more like a sitting position. And I find that this has to do with how tall the leader is versus, in comparison to your own height. So if you have a really big distance, the taller leader might prefer that you feel more like a plank. But if your distance is not so great, maybe, like we are only 9 inches difference, but with her heels, maybe only 6 inches difference. And in this way, I prefer that she has more of a seated position and not a plank position. And if I were maybe 6'4" or something like this, I might ask for her to be plank because the distance would be so much greater that if she were to sit, she would take her center of gravity too far down to the ground and too low for my arms. So, depending on your height difference, you might attack this differently. We're going to show you both options. So being in that exact same position, just starting out there, I'm going to have Marina lay out and go outward just like a plank, keeping her body flat like a plank. She can let go with her arms, I have her here, and you can see that she's in a line like a plank. And then I'll bring her back, and this time I want her to sit into a chair. So this is bringing her center of gravity a bit lower. For me, this is easier to manage when we're doing the Colgada, if it's a Colgada that it's away from your partner. So in the Colgadas that are very far, we use these two techniques in our feet. When we make a spin, you want to make sure that you're only on 1 foot, followers. You're not going to be on 2 feet, and you're not going to have your feet collected. The leader, to make Colgadas happen, they're stepping around your standing leg. So you need to have the free leg out of the way so that they can step around the standing leg and have the space to make any sort of single axis turn. All right, so in close embrace, we need to really just think about being not so much a plank going away, but we're just going to stand tall and maybe have our hips back a little bit, so it's like a mini chair, a really tiny sit. We're just keeping the hips behind the shoulders. What we don't want to do is bring the hips in front of the shoulders. This will start to take the kind of the center of gravity out this way, and it's a different kind of management system. If you start one way, and it might actually be best just to stay in that way. However, it's preferred to start with the hips back and not change during. And when you make a change to your body, followers, during a Colgada, it becomes much more difficult to manage for the leader because you're changing where your center of gravity is. So at the same time, they have to, as they're doing the turn, they have to manage your change of your center of gravity. So when the leader sets you out to a position, let's say in the seated position here, you want to stay in that position. All right? In close embrace, it's going to be just here, and as we go into the turn, she might sit back a little bit, but mostly we're just staying here in close embrace. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about leaders, how you can lead these changes and lead the different positions. All right, so when you're ready for this, followers, when you're kind of getting an idea of this, we'll see you in the next lesson.